Welcome to our 5th annual Conference for Women Veterans. Very special event where we honor women in the military, you, those who have served in the past, and most importantly, those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. We have a very special day planned for you here today, and there are some amazing speakers who have donated their time and to share their skills with you, and most importantly, a day alongside your sister veterans. Emma Marie Henderson, our soloist from JFK Middle School, will now sing the national anthem. Amazing. Thank you, Emma. Reverend Adrian Barry Burton, campus minister for UMass Boston, will now deliver our invocation.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God their gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Joy, author of joy, we who call you by so many names in our hearts welcome you in this place. We come this day to honor these daughters and sons who are dressed in dignity and honor, strength and wisdom. Bless them with all that they each need for life, for career, for good dreams lived out loud. Bless our time together. May joy infuse our strength, our kinship, our time together. Let this be true. And together we say, amen.
Thank you, and please be seated. At this time, I would like to ask Secretary Coleman Nee of the Department of Veterans Services to bring greetings and introduce our guest here today. Secretary Nee joined the Department of Veterans Services in 2007 and was appointed to Secretary in January 2011. He has worked very tirelessly on behalf of veterans in the Commonwealth and involved in several initiatives for women veterans, always emphasizing the vital role women have always played in the military throughout history and presently. He is a veteran himself of Operation Desert Storm, where he served in the United States Marine Corps. Please give a warm welcome to Secretary Coleman Nee.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you today on this great day. If you look around, there's a lot of work went into this. and it doesn't happen on its own. A lot of work went into this with our Women Veterans Network. Is that better? Okay, a lot of work went into this with our Women's Veterans Network, and in particular on my staff. And I'd like to just personally thank Viviana and Cheryl and Charlene for all the work you did putting this together. Thank you very much. It's also a little bit of a sad day in some respects for me, and I think for some of you. Two of your sisters in arms and two good friends and dedicated women veterans that we work with over the years, Mary Beth O'Sullivan and Lena Pineda from our SHARP team passed since the last conference, and we miss them dearly. They were both fantastic advocates and as well as friends and proud Americans and proud veterans. So to Mary Beth and Lena, we wish you fair winds and following seas, and to their families, we want them to know we're thinking of them today. It's an honor to be here and be joined by such folks as Representative Campbell, our keynote speaker, Kayla Williams, the Reverend. I know my colleague from New Hampshire, Mary Moran, who's here as well, the the Director of Veteran Services for the state of New Hampshire. Commissioner Urena has joined us, and we'll be hearing from Commissioner Urena in a bit. We also have Judge George Phelan. Judge Phelan is with the probate court in Norfolk County, and graciously, he's an Iraq war veteran, retired colonel, U.S. Army, and graciously agreed to give a presentation here today called Empowerment and Knowing Your Rights. I think that sounds like an interesting course, Judge. I think you'll have a lot of takers on that one. Thank you for joining us here. We also have the Senior Chief from the Constitution is here as well, Senior Chief Estrada. Thank you so much, Senior Chief, for joining us. Yeah, I'll just leave. I'll be very brief because you didn't come to hear me, but there's a tremendous amount going on, amount of activity right now going on in serving veterans. And at the Department of Veteran Services, what we see every day is that we're really in a pivotal moment in the delivery of services and benefits to our veterans. Our veterans and our population and who we're serving are changing dramatically. From 1941 to 1946, 900,000, mostly men, came back here to Massachusetts as World War II veterans. And they came back to a very good system that was set up to accommodate 30 million, 35, 40 million, mostly men, for health care and benefits and services. But we find that we have far fewer veterans these days, and our population is decreasing. But the one area where we are increasing is in women vets. Women vets are the fastest growing segment of our veterans population. They're the fastest growing segment of our military. They serve with pride. They serve with distinction. They are critical to our national security, and we could not accomplish our mission were it not for all of our veterans, and in particular our women veterans, every day, particularly in combat operations in Iraq and Afghanistan over the past 12 years. So we need to be more nimble. We need to create more community partnerships. We need to engage more of you through events like this, but not just on one day, but throughout the entire year. And I want to encourage you to get involved with the Women's Veterans Network, to get involved in your community. You have VA, and they have great benefits and resources, but they are one element of our entire package. I encourage you to visit massvetsadvisor.org, our web portal. I encourage you to avail yourselves of the services and the resources that are presented by our conference exhibitors here today. And most importantly, I encourage you to just get involved. Your service, your sacrifices, and your patriotism will never be forgotten by the Commonwealth. I assure you that. And we will continue to honor you every day by ensuring that all of you get the care, the benefits, and the services that you've not only earned, but that is our privilege to provide you with on a daily basis. So on behalf of the Commonwealth, on behalf of the governor, I wish you well. I thank you. I'd also like to, at this point, recognize some of our various branches of services. Do we have anybody here from the United States Navy? Please stand up. Okay, do we have anyone here from the Air Force? How about the United States Coast Guard? Is there anyone from the Coast Guard here? United States Army? United States Marine Corps? Nice job, nice job. All right, so it is my honor, let me introduce and kick off this program. First person I want to introduce to you is the Honorable Linda Dean Campbell. Representative Campbell has served as a representative for great community of Methuen, right? And is that the only, Haverhill? Okay, and Haverhill, up on our New Hampshire border, and is a tireless advocate for her district, but also a tireless advocate for women veterans, as she is herself a woman veteran in the United States Army. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the Honorable Linda Dean Campbell from the Massachusetts House of Representatives.
Thank you much, Mr. Secretary. My favorite secretary. No, I don't. He's got the most important job in terms of secretariat right now, and thank you for your service each and every day. Vivian, thank you so much for putting this all together, and I would just like to take this opportunity, everyone that was involved in planning this conference, will you please stand up? Please stand up and be recognized. I also want to extend a very sincere thank you to the Governor's Advisory on Women Veterans. There are perhaps some here serving in that capacity as well, and I want to thank you for your service. I want to extend my deepest gratitude this morning to our great Secretary and to my colleagues in the House and in the Senate for their support of veterans here in the Commonwealth. And our Governor has taken the lead across the board on veterans issues, and I want to thank him from the bottom of my heart. Although we're leading the nation in care for our veterans, so much more needs to be done. And in the state legislature, our immediate concern and a focus of a lot of our effort right now is on suicide prevention, and that will continue. Getting the veterans the care that they need, and that care is so available. We need to get to them in such a timely manner. And that's one of the main focuses right now in the state legislature. I just wanted to call out to you women veterans that are here today. I want to ask you, in fact compel you, if I can, to become personally involved in the debate now going on in the United States Senate and in the Congress regarding the issue of sexual assault. You know, as women veterans, our voices are going to carry additional weight. And I also firmly believe that we owe this to those now serving and to those who will serve in the future. I'm sure that in this room there are different opinions as to how to address this crisis, but I think we can all agree that it is a crisis. Just this past week, both the House and the Senate took votes on this issue, which was part of the defense bill. Their varying positions will now go to a conference committee to be resolved. We know that once legislation is passed, it is very difficult to go back and make changes. So now's the time. Your voice will make a big difference. So enough preaching, I guess. But I do ask you to weigh in on this issue because the window of opportunity is in the coming month. and I think that you can have an enormous impact. So God bless you. Thank you for your service. It is an honor to be among you, and thank you very much for being at this conference, and thank you very much all for putting it together.
Thank you, Representative, and thank you in particular for your work on last year's Valor Act, which was passed here in Massachusetts, which one of the most comprehensive pieces of state veterans legislation that's been passed in the last 25 years, and there was a lot in there. We won't go into all the details, but it cemented a lot of benefits and services for veterans and their families here in the Commonwealth, particularly Gold Star families. So thank you for your work on that. It's my honor at this point to introduce to you someone who is a true friend, a fellow Marine, Iraq War veteran, Purple Heart recipient, and a real true innovator in the delivery of care and services to our veterans. He was formerly the Director of Vet Services for the City of Lawrence. He is currently the Commissioner of Vet Services for the City of Boston. My friend, your friend, Francisco Urena. Francisco.
Great. Rep. Campbell, Secretary Nee, fellow veterans, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. To all those Army veterans, let me please let you know a belated happy birthday yesterday, 238 years. Not a day over 235, I swear. So thank you so much for being here. Most importantly, thank you to the Department of Veteran Services for being catalyst in this program and their continued support towards a Women's Veterans Network. I know how important this network is, but you all know that because you all are here. It is your job to take this mission, whatever you learn from here, and spread it into the community. Spread it into your other women veterans that live among you all, because 12% of these veterans that are part of our Commonwealth are women veterans. Let them know what's available to them. This is not just a one-year event. This is an event that goes on every day of the year, just like we do our work day in and day out. If you don't have a good relationship with your veterans agent in your community, another tool to add to your tool belt as forth as providing veterans services, please get involved. Hold them accountable. Hold us accountable. We are here to provide the best services available. It is not a slogan. It is not a speech. It is something that we do. And it's something that we do because of you veterans, women veterans, male veterans, family, widows, widowers of veterans. These services are available for you, and it is our job to provide them to you. And if those services are not being provided, please let us know. Let the Secretary know, and trust me, changes will be made. We're not here to reiterate that, but just to say welcome to the City of Boston on behalf of our Mayor, Thomas Menino, who is such a supporter of veterans and families. He likes to thank you for being here in our great city. And please, don't let us just be a one-day event. Take part of everything that goes on in the City of Boston and throughout our Commonwealth here. For those Vietnam veterans or those interested, I just want to put one last remark. Beachmont, a local community in Revere, is hosting the Vietnam Wall. The wall doesn't travel often and doesn't come to our area often, so please, it'll be here through Sunday. If you would like to pay tribute to the 54,000 names on that wall, they'll be here through Sunday. I welcome you all to take part of that, and really, again, you are not foreign to that because your service to our country. But because of your service and their service, we have the liberties that we share in this great city of Boston, great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and these great United States of America. Thank you very much, and enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Commissioner. It is my honor, my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today here, Ms. Kayla Williams. Ms. Williams is a former sergeant and Arabic linguist in a military intelligence company, the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. During her deployment to Iraq, She was at the forefront of troops' interaction with Iraqis while also navigating the challenges of being part of the 15% of the U.S. Army that is female. She is the author of a book that I think is probably the greatest title I've ever heard in my life, Love My Rifle More Than You, Young and Female in the U.S. Army, a memoir about her experiences negotiating the challenging demands on today's military. She graduated cum laude with a BA in English Literature from Bowling Green State University and earned an MA in International Affairs with a focus on Middle East from my alma mater, American University. She's a former member of the VA Advisory Committee on Women Veterans and a current Truman National Security Project Fellow and a member of the Army Education Advisory Committee. Ms. Williams currently lives near Washington, D.C. with her husband, a combat wounded veteran, and their 2 children. It is my honor and distinct pleasure to welcome her to the Commonwealth and to welcome her to address today, Ms. Kayla Williams.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, Secretary Nee. It is my pleasure and honor to be here talking to you all today at the 5th Annual Massachusetts Women Veterans Network Conference. In company like this, I bet no one will say to me, "Wow, you're really pretty for being in the Army." Which an astoundingly high number of people have actually said to me. I've never been sure exactly what they meant, that I'm ugly for a civilian, that all the pretty girls join the Air Force. But I've always found it a little off-putting, and it served to reinforce how little I seemed to fit in with most of America after I chose to enlist. And like many things in life, I did that backwards. I went to college, got a bachelor's, got a job, a car, a boyfriend, all the things you're supposed to do in your early 20s. And then I got fired, partly because I was unable to maintain my emotional control at the office. Apparently crying in front of your boss does not set you up for career success. And I was also looking for a challenge, as well as a way to give back to my larger community. I grew up in very modest circumstances. My family was on food stamps occasionally, and it was very important to me that I give back to the country that had helped to set me up for success. So I was searching for a challenge, a way out of the rut that I had been digging for myself, money for college, and some way to really change my circumstances. I looked around, wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. The military seemed like a good opportunity. They were willing to give me money to go on to graduate school with the GI Bill. And I will be honest, though, my method for choosing a branch of service was not that logical. I knew I was not hardcore enough to be a Marine. I thought the Navy uniforms were ugly. The Air Force recruiter didn't return my phone call. So I ended up in the Army. I jumped at the chance to become a linguist. They were willing to pay me to learn a foreign language instead of me having to pay somebody else to teach me one. And so I chose to become a linguist, and I was at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California, learning Arabic on 9/11. And at that point, it became immediately clear to me that my career was going to be profoundly different than it might otherwise have been. It was no longer a question of whether or not I would go to war, simply when and where. I was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division Air Assault, which is a highly mobile unit, very deployable, and knew that I was definitely going to war. I was part of the initial invasion of Iraq under General Petraeus. You may have heard of him. He did very well for a while. That year that I deployed, people asked me where I went. Sometimes I felt like it'd be easier to say where we didn't go, because part of the initial invasion, we drove from Kuwait all the way up to Baghdad, and then from there to Mosul and beyond. When I was in Baghdad, I went on combat foot patrols with the infantry with no plates in my flak vest because I was a girl, so why would I need them? And though my experiences were unusual at the time, they've become utterly commonplace today. So many of our women comrades in arms have been outside the wire, serving, helping to accomplish the mission right alongside men. I spent months at a remote listening post observation post. For about 6 weeks, I was the only woman around about 8 men, and then for another couple months, the only woman with about 30 men. And being the only woman in those very remote areas for a long time had two very contradictory effects on me. On the one hand, it made me value my women friends more because while I was growing up, I always thought it doesn't matter. If somebody's a good person, they're a good person. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. But after being away from other women for months, when I finally got to come down off the mountain and saw my best friend for the first time, it was just this profound relief to talk to another woman and not have her look at my boobs and be able to just completely relax in her company. But honestly, it also made me more judgmental about other women because I knew that in those circumstances, all the male soldiers that I met were judging me not as an individual, but as a representative of all other women. And that was a weighty burden to bear. So when I saw some other women that didn't live up to the expectations, it was very hard for me at that moment to be empathetic towards what they might have been experiencing. And then we came home to a country that seemed to have forgotten that we were at war outside of towns that were near military bases, and that certainly did not know what women troops were experiencing on the ground in Iraq and Afghanistan. I had people ask me if I was allowed to carry a gun, because I was just a girl, and other people asked me if I was in the infantry, which is still not a possibility today. I looked around and saw that the only representatives of women in the Army in the popular media were Jessica Lynch and Lindy England. And neither of those were the women that I wanted representing all of us. They were both, through not necessarily any fault of their own, cardboard cutouts of soldiers, the heroine and the villain. They weren't complex, real humans. And so I wrote my book partly to tell a more complicated story about what it means to be a woman in today's military. I would never pretend that I could speak for all women vets, but I wanted to share a richer and more nuanced story. I will be honest with you, I had trouble transitioning when I came home. It was hard for me to go from combat to peacetime, and then from being a sergeant to being a civilian, from being a soldier to being a spouse. The man who had become my husband was severely wounded by an improvised explosive device, or ID, in Iraq, and I left active duty partly in order to move to be with him at Walter Reed and help him get the care that unfortunately the military was not giving him at that time. So I became a caregiver for a man with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder who was struggling to find his own way home. Love My Rifle came out in the middle of all of this transition, just days before our wedding. And looking back, in a way, it was like my book tour was exposure therapy, which is an evidence-based form of treatment for post-traumatic stress. But I did it on live TV and without a trained professional present, not what I would recommend to others. Just go ahead and engage with VA to get that taken care of. But it did help desensitize me and helped me reach a point where I could talk about the more challenging parts of my military experience calmly. Through all of that, I still just felt like a woman who happened to have been to war. I felt isolated and disconnected. Believe it or not, it was on our honeymoon to Europe that started to change. We saw the scars of war everywhere. Murals in Pisa that had been pockmarked by shrapnel and little signs explaining where the damage was from. I realized here in the United States there are very few places that we can see today the scars of war, and I don't know that anybody is alive who has experienced war on our soil domestically. And then at a World War II exhibit in Paris, I looked around. I was not the best student in high school and didn't pay a ton of attention in history classes. And at this exhibit, looking around, I realized that their gear looked like our gear. The helmets were shaped the same way, a different material, but the shape was the same. Canteens, the shape hasn't changed much over all of these decades. And it hit me. I am a veteran. I share a bond with all other veterans that have gone before me, everyone who has worn a uniform and gone off to war. Rather than being isolated, I am in fact part of a community. And that began my long process of reconnecting with my community, my family, and myself. My husband and I were both able, separately and together, to find meaning in what we had experienced by turning to reach a hand back to those following us, to share the stories of slipping through the cracks, ending up briefly on unemployment, getting lost in the system, struggling with post-traumatic stress, as a way to advocate for better systems and services to benefit others coming home. Spending time around other veterans was profoundly healing. And yet, something was often still missing for me. Too often, I was still the only woman in the room, just like when I served. And though I adore my brothers in arms, they rarely fully understand the added pressures and challenges of being a woman in the military, facing sexual harassment and prejudice. It wasn't until I began to spend time with other female veterans that I truly realized what a gaping hole they filled in my life. Women vets allowed me to be crass and vulnerable. They praised my strengths, encouraged me to work on my weaknesses, called me on my BS, and finally helped me truly feel home again. They rallied with a last-minute baby shower when my husband and I adopted our son with little notice. They helped with breastfeeding advice after the birth of our daughter. And then they dragged me out to parties so that I would remember that I'm not just a wife and mother. These connections to a community have been profoundly meaningful to me. And my children have also helped me reconnect with aspects of myself that had been cut off. I felt in some ways cold after the war, numb and disconnected. It was so obvious to me that we're all going to die. I am going to die. I only cried when animals died in movies, not people. It was a way to cope with the constant looming threat of death that had hung over us all in the war. And then a few months ago, playing with my children around the anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, it hit me that someday when I die, I won't get to hang out with my kids anymore. And I was filled with this crushing sadness, started crying. It was not until that moment that I finally reconnected with an empathetic, softer side within myself. All of you have proved by your military service that you are empowered, that you are tough, strong, capable, honorable, brave, and generous of spirit. You're willing to take risks and live as a minority in a male-dominated world. And you've been able to thrive there. Now, you are forging ahead as a new kind of minority, women veterans. We're still relatively rare as women in the veterans community, though as Secretary Nee pointed out, we are the fastest growing segment of it. And in the wider world of women, we're extremely rare as veterans. But you're not alone. You have one another, a vibrant, passionate community. There are resources here that you can learn about today that will help you move forward throughout the stages of your life, and you can find out about them throughout this day. And you can also learn from one another. There are women here who have paved the way for my generation of women and have valuable lessons to share with us. I urge you all to spend the day not just learning, but also connecting. For together, you will find even greater strength, empowerment, and connection. Thank you for all you have done, and good luck with all you have yet to do.
Wow, thank you so much, Kayla. That was very inspiring. I know tomorrow is Father's Day, and for those of you fathers out there like myself who are raising young daughters, I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you for being the role models and for being the strength and the examples that we would like to set for those young women who are in our care. Thank you. It is my honor now to introduce our host for today. And I do want to say a word about UMass Boston. They have been incredible and great to work with. They are a tremendous resource for our veterans. I see Gus St. Silva from the Veterans Program here in the back, and just really can't say enough about this institution. Thank you. It's no accident that happens. It happens because of their leadership, and that's who we're going to hear from next. Chancellor J. Keith Motley. Chancellor Motley is the 8th Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. He leads this institution with nearly 16,000 undergraduates and graduates, full and part-time faculty of more than 1,000, and a $323 million annual budget. Chancellor Motley is one of those accomplished individuals whose bio is probably longer than his speech at this point. But let me just say that he holds a bachelor's and master's degree, yeah. I'm going to take a cue and say, ladies and gentlemen, Chancellor Motley, thank you.
So, good morning. I've been laying back in the shadows. I've been here this morning. I've been sitting through listening to a theoretical physicist talk to 100 boys downstairs. So when I heard that I had the opportunity to not only escape, now he was great, but to escape and come up and be with you, I was just so honored. I've been watching you come in. You don't know the power of you that's on display today. It's just amazing to watch and to witness when I see some of my mentors coming in and some of my friends that I didn't even know had this in their background. But as I thought about it, understood why it was in their background, I'm so grateful to you. Good morning and welcome to the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Your university, you should not be surprised that you're here because it's your spot. This is isn't it beautiful out here? Oh my God. Hey, I am reformed. I used to be one of those guys that was at another university and didn't understand, and I never had been over here to enjoy the ocean and all those things. I came out here and they can't get rid of me. They cannot get rid of me. I am so grateful to each and every one of you for participating in the Women's Veterans Conference on this campus. I also want to thank our secretary for not doing that introduction. Because at the end of the day, it's about who we are as individuals. If I wake up every morning trying to live up to those great women and others in my life who paved the path for me. And so their values are the values that I stand on. And so, Secretary Nee, I appreciate, first of all, your presence. Your presence on this campus is just normal for us. See, when you come here to this university, this is not abnormal. We do this. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of veterans on this campus. They're welcome here. You felt it today. Give that staff in the back, Gus and all them, a round of applause. And I know you had all the big shots up here today. Look, they showed up. You got the secretary, you got Representative Campbell, you got the commissioner, Irina, right from Boston, up in here today. Thank you all for being here today as well and for putting together such a networking opportunity for our Commonwealth's brave and dedicated veterans. I also am so grateful that they came and got me to come up here to hear Sergeant Williams' speech. Kayla, I have a daughter named Kayla. And so when you talk about Father's Day, I had a son, and it was my wife, me, and him. Then it all changed. Now it's my wife and 2 daughters, and I think I still live there. Let me tell you this, when I leave here today, they told me I'm celebrating Father's Day in Albany, New York. I'm leaving here and I have to drive to Springfield. They'll pick me up because they're doing AAU basketball. It's either that or they'll do Father's Day at midnight tomorrow. So I think I'm going to go down and see them along with Kayla. But thank you for your words today. I'm so grateful to have had the chance to walk in and hear you. I was standing in the back and then Gus said, well, you better get up on the stage. And I determined I should be up here. We're proud to host this conference. Don't you? And if somebody makes you feel that we're not today, my email is my name. You just email me. Because that's not the culture we have here. There's an ethic of care that keeps me running to work every day. We're proud to have and be the backdrop for the day of learning how to access the many benefits that you're entitled to, but sometimes don't know about. And so don't, like downstairs, I had to ask some questions. This guy's talking about time travel, the speed of light and all that, right? So I had to ask a few questions. Now, my third graders knew the answers. So I was kind of embarrassed, but there's nothing wrong with asking questions about things you should have in your life anyway. So if it's feeling funny, just go up and ask. There are great people around. I've been watching over the banisters, looking over and down at all the little tables and stuff. Go up, those are great people, find out to what you're entitled to. I'm honored to be among such brave, but also wonderful women who've done so much for all of us. You're welcomed here at this university today, but you're welcomed anytime and any day. There's not anything that you can't come here and try to learn on this campus and or participate in on this campus. At the university, we're so proud that more than 650 veterans, including more than 150 combat veterans, attend our institution on the GI Bill. We're just as proud to be the alma mater for thousands and thousands and thousands more veterans. And should you find yourself at the end of this conference thinking about using your benefits because you just found out you got some, right? Remember, you met this guy with the receding hairline, slimmer than he used to be, right? Up on the stage, and he told you, you can bring them benefits over here and learn something more than what you know. You know a lot. You individually know lots, but there's something that you can learn. Life is about learning something every day, and so know that you can use those benefits here. More importantly, we'd love to have you. And that's no joke. We are, and I can say it proudly, the secretary knows it, probably the most veteran-friendly place for higher education around. That's not a brag. See, chancellors talk a lot of stuff, but that's not brag, that's fact. Just come over on an off day. I know you got plenty of those, right? But if you happen to have some time, just show up and see if today is not something that we just made up just so you could feel good today. It's the way we do our business. So you know we'd be grateful to have you. We want to make this safe, but also a supportive campus for you. And to that end, we have a variety of services and programs here that you're going to hear about today that are extremely dedicated to veterans. We have hardworking people who staff those offices. You're going to meet them, including our Veterans Affairs Office, our Veterans Upward Bound program. I'm an Upward Bounder. My mother made sure I was always busy. So in 9th grade, I thought that I was in college because I was at the University in Pittsburgh in Upward Bound every day for 4 years. That's why I didn't go to Pitt. And I'm so glad I didn't, because if I went to Pitt, I might not be standing here today. And I'm so grateful for that. So know that we have a Veterans Upward Bound program. It's holding a free financial aid literacy program for women, a financial literacy program for women later this month. So that's another opportunity to come on campus. The University of Massachusetts Boston Student Veterans Center. So when you come here as a student, we got another Veterans Center for you. We got one when you come. We have an Upward Bound program if you're a little nervous about coming back to school. We have something for you once you get here. And we're going to talk to you about financial literacy. Come on now. But we also have the Joyner Center. The Joyner Center talks about the study of war and the social consequences. When I heard Kayla talking about the first thing she had to do was come back and then go into a caregiver role. And that's long before people understood what they understand about the consequences, emotionally and all those things, not just of the people who were striving and serving and doing wonderful things, but to those around the family, the person who's giving that care. So she wrote, and she's doing, and she's just marvelous, as you saw earlier. Perhaps more importantly, and I'll get out your way, we have a strong community of fellow students. If you've never been to our Veterans Day program, when hundreds and hundreds and hundreds stand up and we go through everybody in the room and they talk about where they serve. And after the cheers and tears, we celebrate and we eat. It's an amazing thing. You should be here. They're eager to help you adjust. We know the transition back to civilian life for some can be difficult. That's why a conference like this is important. Sometimes it's not about you as an individual, it's about you helping somebody else. You have all that information, but they just needed a little boost. So thank you for that. And so I'm glad you're here. I hope you'll make the most of this opportunity to connect with each other and to learn from the workshops our state, our Commonwealth Department of Veterans Services has put together for you. I'm honored to be here with you, but I'm also honored that you chose your university, University of Massachusetts, Boston, to be your host today. Enjoy yourself. Stay as long as you like to. Just put the lights out, okay, when you leave, all right? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
But we have a little bit of housekeeping to do here really quick. 5 years ago, this is the 5th annual conference. It's been going strong and growing every year. 5 years ago, when we first did the first conference was out in Holyoke Community College. Some of you may remember that. And at the time, Charlene Queenan from our office was looking for someone to help us with the national anthem, and found an incredible young woman from Northampton, Mass, who was gracious enough to come out, and we were all blown away. And she has continued to come out, I believe, every conference. She supports us at Veterans Day. She supports us at various events. And we'd like to bring Emma Marie Henderson up here and present her with a little something just for her efforts today. Years from now, when you're famous, we'll all say we knew you then. And then we also want to present a little something to, there's a lot of, as I said, a lot of hands that go into making this work. But the one person we count on day in and day out to support and run our Women's Veterans Network is Viviana Cordoba. Viviana, could you come up, please? And finally, what we call in military, the clerk of the works, who makes this all happen and keeps us all on time, hopefully, and coordinated, is our Director of External Affairs, Charlene Queenan. Charlene, would you come up, please? Thank you to all of you. Have a great day, and Viviana is going to come up and tell you what's going on. But again, thank you for being here and appreciate it.
Thank you, Secretary. At this time, I would like to actually call Kayla back up to the podium for a second. Kayla, on behalf of the Women Veterans of Massachusetts, I just wanted to present you with this small token of our appreciation and for sharing your story with us here today. Your book was really inspirational, and it definitely gives a glimpse of what it's like to be a female in combat, so thank you so much for your service. As was mentioned before by Kayla, it really is so important for us as women veterans to share our experiences with one another and help empower each other as women vets, which is why our focus theme for this year's conference is Women Veterans Empowered. Before I explain the events throughout today, and stay with me, it's a lot of information, I just wanted to thank a few people that were recognized earlier, but I really want to acknowledge the Women Veterans Steering Committee, because these ladies really make up the heart of the network, and I really couldn't have done any of this without their hard work. Ladies, please stand or wave. Thank you. And we are also fortunate to have some of the members from the Governor Advisors Committee on Women Veterans here with us today. These ladies actually helped start the network, and if you could please stand or wave and be recognized. Thank you. And just lastly, many thanks to our staff at the Department of Veterans Services. It's a real team effort. If there's anybody from our SAVE and SHARP team, and I know Charlene's here, if you guys can just stand. Come on. Thanks, guys. I wanted to share an event at the State House that we host every November called Women Veterans Appreciation Day, where we honor contributions of women veterans to our nation and select our Deborah Sampson Outstanding Women Veteran of the Year Award. And Deborah Sampson, as some of you may know, was our first woman veteran in the American Revolution. We actually have our 2010 and 2011 winners here in the audience today, Captain Mary Jo Majors and Colonel Andrea Gale Bennett. Where are you, ladies? Thank you, ladies, for what you do for women vets every day. We were fortunate last year that Patrick administration issued a proclamation that established the week prior to Veterans Day as Women Veterans Week. You can pick up a copy of the proclamation at our exhibit table in the back. There are many presenters and exhibitors here today who've given their personal time to share information here to you all and benefits that support veterans and their families every day. So they're here for you, and I just really strongly encourage everybody to take advantage of their time. So the breakdown of the day is we have a series of workshops, and they're all broken up into 6 topics, are related to our theme today. Our first 2 are networking and wellness, which will be followed by employment and benefits, and lastly, law and finance, and those will be presented here. The wellness rooms will be available from 11 to 3 in room 3545 and 3540, which are outside and to the right outside the ballroom. And a sincere thank you to all practitioners here today, because they have donated their time to be here, and as well as the speakers here today. So please be mindful of the appointments on your cards. The agenda of the day is also found in your folders. There will be volunteers and members of the committee and other volunteers that are wearing purple scarves. So you might have already seen them around. Just feel free to ask them anything that you have questions on. And the purple, of course, represents the joint forces that encompasses all military branches, in case you were curious. Lunch will be served outside the ballroom on this floor at 12:15. And I also wanted to make a note of the evaluations in your folders. I really strongly emphasize the need for everyone to fill these out. This is how we improve each year and ensure that our events are useful and relevant to all your needs. The setup of these evaluations and the raffle prizes, all of that will be explained very shortly after the ceremony ends. So if you need to run out to the bathrooms, feel free, and then just come back for all that information. You don't want to miss that. But I really, truly hope that you enjoyed today, connecting with old friends and even making some new ones. Very lastly, I just wanted to share with you all that it was a little shocking, because I think the latest VA reports in 2012 showed that Massachusetts had 26,000 women veterans. And according to 2013 reports that I just saw yesterday, we're up to 32,000. So we are growing. But we need to find our sisters. So in the back and in your bags, you'll find one of these Join the Sisterhood postcards. Give them to a friend. Anybody that you may know, bring a bunch to your workplace. Feel free to take as many as you need. We'll even mail you some if you need that too. This is the way we can find them and help them to be more aware of their entitlements that they've also deserved. Our direct assistance cases have grown from 200 to 550, and they keep growing. So it's definitely an indication of the fastest growing segment in our military today.